broadcasting from WDWL TV, Studio B on Grumpy Vulture Boulevard. And we are a division of Grumpy Vulture Productions. Enough of the goddamn vulture already. Okay. I watched this morning a very interesting court case with Judge Middleton up in Michigan. I love watching him because his courtroom reminds me of watching Andy Mayberry. He grew up in the county. He knows everyone. He knows every house. He knows every street. And it's hilarious because a defendant will get up in front of him and he'll say, "I think I used to shovel snow for your grandfather." Or, "I cut your uncle's lawn." Or, "You're living in the house that I lived in until I was 5 years old." I mean, he's almost got a story for everything. Well, today, first case up. This fella was out on bond for having explosive devices. And he had a whole list of bond conditions. You know, no assaultive behavior, no owning weapons, no drugs or alcohol. Well, while he was out on bond, he got picked up for DUI. And it pissed Judge Middleton off because this happened like the second week of January, and he was never notified because he'd had that guy's ass in immediately. So the guy's standing at the podium, and Judge Middleton says, you know, the sentence that you got previously for the case you pled to, I held in abeyance 30 days. He says, "Well, you're going to jail right now." He says, "You get arrested for DUI and you are going to jail right now. Do not pass go. Do not collect $500. And the bailiff hooks him up and takes him away." I walked him away. I mean, Judge Middleton's court is just so laid back. Well, the next defendant up is an 18-year-old Amish kid. Now, up in Michigan, a lot of the Amish drive. And this kid was going through Rumspringa or something like that. It's a rite of passage. Basically, you go from being under the direction of your parents to the direction of the church. Well, while he's standing up there, the judge says, "Okay, you're so-and-so. You were ticketed for speeding and driving with a expired registration." And when the camera clicked over, because the camera goes to the prosecution, the table of defense, and then back to the judge and to the person at the podium, this kid was hanging on the podium, shaking, white as a ghost. And it looked like he was going to cry. And Judge Middleton says, what's wrong? And he goes, I don't feel well. He says, well, all right, sit down, take a few deep breaths, you know. So the kid, he sits down, he kind of regains his composure, and he gets back up and he's hanging on the podium. And Judge Middleton says to him, you're not going to jail. And he kind of pointed, mainly that guy that just. And Judge says, no, 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 no. It was part of his bond conditions that he was not to consume alcohol, and he got arrested for DUI. He goes, you're only going to get a fine. That's all you're going to get. And finally, the color started to return back to this kid's face, but it was hilarious to watch. It wasn't hilarious because I'm sure this poor Amish kid shit himself while he was standing there figuring, oh my God, I'm going to goddamn jail. He just put that guy in jail. It couldn't have been a better lead-in. The first case of the day, off the guy goes. And then he gets this poor little, this 18-year-old kid, because the Amish, they're not familiar with all our laws and everything. And he figured, oh my God, he went to jail. I'm going to go to jail. I can't go to jail. And he asked the kid. He says, "Well, what do you do for a living?" And he says, "Our family does construction." And he says, "What type of construction?" And he says, "We build barns, pole barns, sheds, garages." And Judge Middleton goes, several years back, I think your family built my garage. And I mean, this is Andy of Mayberry Court, because Judge Middleton's got a story for everything. And he is the only judge. I watched several across the United States. Judge Middleton gets in his courtroom 15 minutes before it's time to start. And he gets, actually, when he comes in at like 7:30, he fires up, turns the computer on, gets everything all ready. But he comes in 15 minutes before court. He opens the chat and he welcomes every person in the chat. And it's amazing because he's the only judge that does this. He will go, like the other day, I wished him good morning, and he says, good morning back to you, WDWL TV in Cleveland, and I almost fell out of my chair. And he is so humble because he sits there and he goes, my court is one of the boringest courts around. And he says, I have people from all over the world. This morning he had people from Sweden, Germany, Italy, Virgin Islands, and he's just humbled by, he even says almost every day, he goes, I don't know why you people watch me. Well, I think they watch because he is such a humble person, for one. And his court is interesting because, like I say, he's got a story for everything. And he's the only judge who will greet everyone in the chat. And, you know, attorneys that aren't that familiar with him, they'll walk into the, and they'll go to sit down in the courtroom, and the judge will be talking to the chat. And the attorneys apologize. Oh, I didn't realize you were talking to somebody. And judge said, no. He says, I'm talking to my subscribers. And then he'll explain, the attorney, I got people here from England and Denmark and all over the world. And it just humbles him that he has that following. He's got almost 50,000. I think he's got 46,700 and some. And he's amazed by that. He just. I watch because up until couple weeks ago, one of the prosecutors, Debbie Davis, she left for some reason. I've been trying to find out. There was such a rapport between him and the prosecutor, and sometimes Debbie could be so sweet that sugar wouldn't melt in her mouth. Then other times, oh my God, she'd be like a rabid sheepdog. But her and the judge would go back and forth at times, and it was just, the camaraderie is unbelievable. And the attorneys, he knows them all. And like during hunting season, an attorney will come in and he knows that the attorney's a hunter. Well, you get anything? No. So it was an entertaining morning, to say the least. They did, I wish they would have got, the Amish kid walking out of the courtroom, because I'm sure his blue pants had a big brown stain in them when he left. It was, I guess I wouldn't want to be in his shoes, but it was hilarious. It was just utterly hilarious. The kid thought he was going to jail because the first guy got sent to the clink. And my lazy ass today, I just wasn't in the mood. I didn't put my NGKs in the RAV, but tomorrow definitely it's going to get the new spark plugs. I just, like I say, although it's going to be a little warmer tomorrow, although it was 47, it wasn't too bad today. I'm not going to freeze my ass off because it only takes me 15 minutes to change the plugs. But I'll admit it, I was just fucking lazy. The grumpy old man was just. I sat here, looked at the plugs, looked at the computer, looked at the plugs, looked at the computer, looked at the plugs, looked at the computer, looked at the clock. I didn't even air up I got two tires going. I've got rim leaks on the Nissan. And it's because they're porous. They can't seal them up. And trying to find rims for this thing, I still, to this day, do not understand Nissan's thinking back in '97. Now this is the lightest duty pickup truck that they make. It's a bare bones, nothing. Just a bare bones truck. And they put 1-ton rims on it. Sixth lug. This thing could get away with 4, let alone a 5, but it's got 6 lug, and the only thing that fits it is another Nissan. And of course, trying to find rims for a 97 Nissan's like trying to find teeth on a chicken, you know. And I don't want to buy 4 new rims for it, because the rims will be worth more than the truck. And I keep checking pull apart. You know. I mean, I did find some at a wrecking yard over on the east side, but I'm not paying $75 a rim. No way. And trying to find, you know, years ago, the cheap rims used to be the ones they called wagon wheels. They were white and they had a design that looked like a wagon wheel, and that was the cheapest rim you could buy, because I had them on my Toyota pickup back in the day. I had a rare truck back in the late 90s. It was an 80 or an 81 Toyota, just bare bones pickup. You know, the one they call the Tacoma now. It just was a Toyota pickup. And it had a 4-cylinder diesel. And the original owner came here from Colorado and drove the truck here. He had a little U-Haul trailer behind it and moved here. And then he traded it in and he bought another pickup, but a full size. So the dealer I was working for at the time, I knew the used car manager real well. And he had it kind of parked in the back row because it was no cherry. And he knew I loved diesels. So the one day I went over there to chit-chat with him. And he says, I got something for you. He says, see that red Toyota on the back row? I says, yeah. He says, it's a diesel. I said, a diesel? In a 4-cylinder Toyota? He says, yeah. Go check it out. Here's the key. Fired right up. Very little smoke. Thing had like 212,000 miles on it. And the engine had never been touched. All original. I says to him, what do you want? He says, well, wholesale is $300. I said, sold. When can I have it? He said, take it now. He says, I know you're going to fix it up, because I was body shop manager at the time. So, across the street it went. And I just wanted it spritzed up a little bit. Well, my guys all got together and they said, no, we're gonna repaint it. They repainted it. It was a beautiful red. And then one of the guys come in one day and he goes, I got something you're gonna love. And it was a sun visor fiberglass sun visor with marker lights. He had bought it at a flea market and never used it. And it was sat in his garage. It was all dusty. And he goes, "It's yours." I said, "No, no, 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 no. Let me pay you for it." He said, "No, no." Well, the truck looked so good and had these shitty wheels on it. So, at that time, we had Mueller Tire. And my grandfather had gone to Mueller's for years. And I knew the Mueller boys. So I called him and I said, "I need a set of tires and whatever the most inexpensive rim you have." He goes, "Well," he says, "you're in luck." He says, I've got a set of white wagon wheels that have been left over here for about a year. He says, "I'll sell them to you at cost and I'll give you a deal on tires." I said, "Okay, I'll take them." Well, it just so happened the wagon wheels had red stripe on them. I said it was like made to order. Well, I had that truck for 3 years. And I'll tell you what, it had a block heater, but I never plugged it in. Because I'll tell you, in the dead of winter, that thing started right up. 212,000 miles and started right up. Well, I was driving along one day and I heard this loud noise. And then I heard like the clinking of metal. The frame broke. And I debated whether to fix it. And one day, a guy made me a ridiculous offer. And I said, "The frame's broke." He goes, "Don't worry about it." He says, "My cousin's a welder. We'll patch it back together." Because the only way I could have done it was to have it resectioned, and I didn't want to put that kind of money in the truck. We used to have oh God, what the hell was the name of there was a frame shop. That's all they did, frame straightening and welding, and I can't remember the name right now. I just didn't want to spend the money on it. And when this guy offered me I was speechless. I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, yeah, 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 yeah." I said, "Okay." And I sold it. And then I picked up it was a Chevy Love truck. LUV. Little, small, like an S10. And I want to say it was an Isuzu, but I can't remember who Chevy was partnered with at the time. I'll have to look it up. Well, it was the biggest dog I ever owned. Oh my God. This thing broke down every other week. Wouldn't start, fuel problems. It just aggravated the shit out of me. So I got rid of it, and I went for quite a while without a pickup. And I can't remember when the next pickup was. Neither here nor there. just, now I got my rot bucket shitbox Nissan, and it's another, it's like that Toyota. It just runs and runs and runs and runs. But I'm serious. Every time I slam door, another piece of the body falls off of it. It's that much of a rot bucket. But I'll drive it until I'm dragging my ass in the street. Tell you that. But I gotta find rims for it. Why they put 6-lug rims? I mean, it's basically a quarter ton. Not even a quarter ton. It's a baseline entry-level Nissan with 1-ton rims. Because that's what they put on one. A 6-lug is a beefy. We can't find them. Of course, things over 25 years old. Now, I shouldn't say I can't find them. I can find them all day long. I'm just not paying that kind of money for them. But they're aluminum rims and they're porous. And they leak. And today I knew, I just ran up to the corner, but I'm thinking, man, I'm going to ruin these brand new tires running them, There's probably only like 15 pounds of air in them. And I've got it. I got an outstanding air compressor. It's a twin cylinder, brand new. I was in a lazy ass mood today. Just a lazy ass mood. Although I did do laundry. So I wasn't that lazy, but as far as the spark plugs, there they are, the good old V-Power. Resistor type. NGKs, there they are. How do you say? I sit here and looked at them and I go, tomorrow definitely, because I got to run the Toyota. Plus I got to put another quart of oil in it. I'm down about 1.5 quarts. I gauge mine by miles per quart. Let's see, there's another thing. I was lazy. If I'm not going to drive it, I need to at least start it and run it for 10-15 minutes a day to keep the plugs from fouling. I mean, I went almost all summer without fouling out plugs, and then I got lazy. And I love to drive it because the grumpy old man, it's noisy. The muffler is like 10 inches long. It's a glass packet, a little tiny thing. And then it comes out of the muffler with a piece of pipe maybe about 12 inches long, and it goes into a 4-inch round tailpipe extension. Sounds like a truck, but I love the sound. You can't make a 4-cylinder sound like an 8. So you make it sound noisy. Drives my neighbors crazy. But I was going to do the same thing on the Nissan, but believe it or not, 149,000 miles. It's a rot bucket, and it still has the factory exhaust on it. They must have put stainless steel on back in the day. Because I've been waiting for the muffler to fall off because I want to order another one of them little shorty glass packs. But nope, muffler won't fall off. Exhaust system is. But believe me, when it does, because the muffler is about the size of this microphone. I mean, it's not. It's a cute little thing. But it's not mellow. You know, it's not that throaty sound like I hear some of the Hondas. You know, we got a group of guys that live a couple of blocks away. They're in this tuner club, and some of them Hondas. Oh my God, do I love the sound of them Hondas? There was one during the summer. There was a group, there were 5 or 6 of them, they were all talking about their cars and showing them off. 2 or 3 of them didn't have hoods on them. And the engines, oh my God, the money these guys put into these engines. I look in that engine bay and it was spotless. Chrome, fancy ignition wires. And the one kid told me he had $6,500 in his engine. And you could tell. I mean, it was, and the sound of that thing, oh my God, I wish I could get my, although he told me, he goes, well, we could play with your Toyota. I said, nah. The one kid had, he had taken the Honda engine out and he had a Subaru engine. How he shoehorned a Subaru engine, because Subaru engine's a pancake like a Volkswagen with a turbo. Meanest sounding thing you ever wanted to hear. They do some neat stuff with these. Almost makes me want to get one. But it would have to be a truck. Although they told me, you know, we can, Toyota truck, we can hop the engines up in those, no problem. Takes money. Something that Grumpy doesn't have. Now, I hope this microphone isn't blowing your eardrums off. Because I noticed no matter how I've had it adjusted, it's been on the low side. So I went in and I made an adjustment on the audio level in the settings on my Prism Studio. I'm still trying to figure out how to get that background. I can pull, if I, see there's two programs. You have Prism Live Studio, and then you have what they call Prism Lens, which is all the neat special effects. Now, I can go into Prism Lens and pull up all the special effects, but I can't figure out how to get them here. There's a way of putting them in here that I still can't figure out. Like I say, that day I did it by accident and I can't remember what I did. And it pisses me off. Because there is one that is just I've already got a script written for this background because these backgrounds are like a green screen, but you don't need a green screen. But how I can get that program moved over to here, I forget. Like I say, I did it by accident one day. And that's the problem. I do stuff and I don't pay attention to what the hell I'm doing. Typical. And with that, I think I'm going to call it an evening. I would like a new subscriber, please. Somebody. Like I keep saying, you don't have to watch me. Just subscribe. Subscribe and then ignore the grumpy old man. One more. If I could get one a month, I'd be happy. That's all I want. I'm sitting at 30. Still at 30. And like I say, you don't have to tickle the bell or do any of that, for notifications. Just subscribe and then ignore the shit out of me, Hit subscribe and go, I had enough of him already. Make the old man happy. That's all I want, is one a month. Need a refill. Tomorrow, I'm going to tell you about my phone call from my oncologist regarding my MRI. Not bad news, but you will not believe the story. Although maybe you might. I don't believe it. But I got the results. I'll tell you that story tomorrow. In a way, it's enough to scare you. But with that, friends, I'm going to call it an evening. And I hope all of you have a good evening. And number 30